gravel crunched under Oliver Hayes' tires like brittle bones snapping in the Montana chill. And as he killed the engine of his rented pickup, the silence hit him harder than the wind whipping across the endless plains. He stepped out, boots sinking into the muddied earth of the old stable yard, and there it was, the crumbling empire his late Uncle Harlan had willed him in a haze of spite or mercy, a sagging barn roof leaking memories into the frostbitten air. Laughter echoed from the knot of locals gathered at the fence line, their faces weathered like the fence posts, eyes glinting with the cruel amusement of men who had long ago learned to mock what they could not mend. Oliver stood there, the wool crinkling in his gloved fist, feeling the weight of their stares like frostbite on exposed skin. He had driven 14 hours from Seattle, chasing ghosts and a promise scribbled in faded ink. The Double H Ranch, 40 acres of forgotten glory tucked into the Bitterroot Valley, where Harlan Hayes had once broken horses and broken hearts until the bottle won out. The locals' faces blurred into a chorus of smirks, flannel shirts and Stetsons framing their judgment. "City boy thinks he can play cowboy?" one muttered, loud enough to carry, a toothpick rolling between his teeth like a verdict. Oliver straightened, his breath fogging the air, and met their eyes not with anger, but with the quiet fire that had carried him through boardrooms and bad breakups alike. He was 32, a graphic designer who sketched dreams for tech startups. Not the kind of man who wrestled steers or mended fences. But Harlan's letter, tucked into the envelope with the deed, had burned through his doubts. "Boy, life's too short for safe bets. Ride it or ruin it." He pushed through the gate, the hinges screaming like a warning, and the laughter swelled, a low rumble that vibrated in his chest. Inside the stable, the air hung heavy with the scent of damp hay and neglect, stalls empty save for cobwebs draping like funeral veils. A lone horse, ribs sharp as accusations, nickered from the shadows, its coat matted and dull. Oliver reached out, palm flat, and the animal sniffed him warily, as if deciding whether this stranger was salvation or just another disappointment. "Easy, girl," he whispered, his voice steady despite the tremor in his gut. Her name was stitched into a frayed blanket. Willow, Harlan's last companion, perhaps, left to fade like the ranch itself. Back outside, the crowd had thinned to 3. Buck Harlan, no relation, but claiming blood through stories thicker than lies, his brother Tate, and a younger man leaning against a rusted tractor, arms crossed over a chest broad as the horizon. Buck spat tobacco juice into the dirt, his laugh a gravelly bark. Harlan always was a fool, leavin' this heap to a. "What did you say you do, son?" "Draw pretty pictures for queers in the city." The word landed like a slap, casual as the wind, but Oliver felt it bloom hot under his skin. He had come out at 20, in a Seattle coffee shop where rain masked the tears, and built a life of quiet pride. Apartments with skyline views, dates in dimly lit bars, a string of lovers who came and went like seasons. But here, in this valley where mountains loomed like judgmental elders, his life felt exposed, a target painted on his back. "I design logos," Oliver said evenly, meeting Buck's gaze. "And yeah, some for queer-owned businesses." Harlan knew that, still left it to me. Tate chuckled, shaking his head, his mustache twitching like a live wire. "Well, good luck, fancy pants. That stable's been empty since the old man pickled himself. Horses don't take checks from credit cards." The young man by the tractor shifted, his silence louder than the barbs. He was tall, sun-kissed skin stretched over lean muscle, blonde hair curling under a worn baseball cap, blue eyes sharp and unreadable. Wyatt something, Oliver guessed from the whisper's head caught on the drive-in. Wyatt Langford, the hotshot farrier who shod half the valley's stock, known for his hands that could gentle a wild Mustang or break a man's heart with a glance. Oliver ignored them, turning back to the barn, but Buck's voice trailed him like smoke. "Sell it, boy, before it eats you alive." The gate clanged shut behind him, sealing out the cold, but not the echo of their mirth. He leaned against a post, heart pounding, and slid down to sit on the straw-strewn floor. Willow poked her head over the stall, nose nudging his shoulder, warm and insistent. For the first time since the lawyer's call, Oliver let the tears come, silent and scalding, soaking into the denim of his knee. What the hell was he doing here? He had a life in Seattle, a loft overlooking Elliott Bay, freelance gigs that paid the rent, friends who toasted his latest heartbreak with craft IPAs and bad karaoke. But Harlan's death had cracked something open, a void that whispered of unlived lives, of roots he never knew he craved. By dusk, the sky bruised purple over the peaks, and Oliver emerged with a plan sketched on a napkin. Fix the roof, call a vet for Willow, maybe turn the place into a boutique stable for city folk seeking authentic retreats. He fired up the truck, headlights slicing the gathering dark, and headed to the valley's lone motel, the Bitterroot Inn, a neon-lit relic with vacancy signs flickering like false promises. The clerk, a woman named Rita with bingo wings and a smoker's rasp, slid him a key. Heard you got the double H. Folks are talking. Buck says you're gonna flop harder than a gutshot steer. Oliver forced a smile. Buck's got a big mouth. He'll manage. She eyed him, curiosity sharpening her gaze. Harlan was queer too, you know. Never said it loud, but we knew. Drank to forget it, mostly. The words hung there, a bridge or a barb, and Oliver nodded, throat tight. Thanks for the tip. His room smelled of mothballs and regret, the bed sagging under his weight as he scrolled through contacts. First call. His best friend Mia, back in Seattle, her voice a lifeline through the static. Ollie, what the fuck? A ranch? You hate dirt. He laughed, the sound hollow. It's not a ranch. Potential. And Harlan's ghost is kicking my ass. She paused, then soft. You sound alive, though. For once. Next, the realtor in town. A brisk woman named Elena Vasquez who promised to scout buyers if he bailed. But as he hung up, a knock rattled the thin door. Wyatt Langford stood there, toolbox in hand, his cap pulled low. Saw your truck. Figured the stable's pipes might freeze tonight. Harlan owed me for a shoe job. Thought I'd collect on the new owner. Oliver blinked, caught off guard by the offer laced with something warmer than business. Come in, then. Beers in the cooler if you want. They worked side by side in the dim kitchenette, wrapping pipes with insulation, the silence broken by the clink of tools and occasional grunts. Wyatt was 35, Oliver learned through sideways questions. Grew up on a spread 10 miles east, lost his folks to a winter crash, now freelanced to keep his own small herd afloat. His hands were calloused poetry, veins mapping stories of labor and loss. Why help? Oliver asked finally, wiping sweat from his brow. Wyatt shrugged, blue eyes flickering up. Harlan was good people. And you got guts showing up here alone. The compliment landed soft, stirring something in Oliver's chest, a spark against the cold. When they finished, Wyatt lingered, cracking a beer and toasting to fresh starts. Their knees brushed under the table, accidental at first, then not, and Oliver felt the pull, magnetic and dangerous, like leaning into a flame. That night, sleep evaded him, the motel's walls paper-thin with the murmur of trucks on the highway. He dreamed of Harlan, a spectral figure in chaps and a duster, reins loose in gnarled hands, whispering, "Hold on, boy, the ride's worth the fall." Morning brought frost-laced windows and a resolve hardening like the ground. Oliver drove back to the stable, Willow greeting him with a whinny that echoed his own tentative hope. He spent the day clearing debris, muscles screaming in protest, blisters blooming on palms and used to honest work. By afternoon, a vet arrived. Dr. Samir Patel, turban neat under his Stetson, voice calm as he examined Willow. She's malnourished, but salvageable. Needs grain, exercise. You planning to keep her? Oliver nodded, surprising himself. Yeah, and maybe more like her. Word spread, as it did in valleys like this, and by week's end, the laughter had morphed into wary curiosity. Buck dropped by with a chainsaw, for the deadwood, his apology gruff. Didn't mean to run you off. Tate trailed with sandwiches from the diner, trading jabs for stories of Seattle's rain-soaked streets. Wyatt became a fixture, hauling supplies in his battered Ford, his presence a steady rhythm amid the chaos. One evening, as they mended a stall door, Their hands brushed over a hammer, lingering a beat too long. Wyatt pulled back first, clearing his throat. "You're not what I expected, city boy." Oliver met his gaze, heart thudding. "And you're exactly what this place needs." The air thickened, charged with unspoken invitations, but Wyatt stepped away, murmuring about chores. Oliver watched him go, the sunset painting his silhouette gold, and wondered if this inheritance was a curse or the start of something unbreakable. As autumn deepened, leaves turning the aspens to fire, Oliver poured himself into the Double H. He hired locals for the heavy lifts. Elena's nephew, Marco, a tattooed vet with a quick laugh who welded gates like art. They transformed the yard, graveled paths winding to new paddocks, the barn roof patched with tin that gleamed under the vast sky. Willow fattened, her coat shining, and Oliver took to riding her bareback at dawn, the rhythm syncing his pulse to the earth's slow breath. It was in these moments, wind tearing at his jacket, that he felt Harlan close, a presence in the wind that urged him onward. But the valley had its shadows. Graffiti bloomed on the fence one morning. "Ferry stable, go home." Oliver scrubbed it away, jaw set, but the sting lingered. At the feed store, whispers followed him. "Harlan's nephew, the one from the city. You know." He held his head high, charging sacks of oats with a card that raised eyebrows. Wyatt found him later, fury etching his features. "Who did it?" Oliver shrugged. "Doesn't matter. I'm not leaving." Wrapping an arm around Oliver's shoulders, Wyatt squeezed. "Damn right. This is your fight now." The touch ignited, fingers tracing spine. And in the stable's loft, amid bales of hay that scratched like secrets, they kissed tentative, then fierce, mouths claiming what words could not. It was Oliver's first taste of rural desire, raw and unfiltered, wrapping stubble grazing his skin, hands mapping bodies with the sureness of a man who knew the land. They tumbled together, breaths mingling in the dim light filtering through cracks, Oliver's back arching against the rough wood as Wyatt whispered his name like a prayer. Afterward, tangled in blankets salvaged from the tack room, Oliver traced the scars on Rapping's chest, old rodeo marks, badges of survival. "Why me?" he asked, voice husky. Wyatt smiled, slow and real. "Because you see me, Ollie. Not the farrier, not the widower. Just Wyatt." The revelation hung. Wyatt had lost a partner years back, a quiet cowboy named Reese, taken by cancer too young. The grief had walled him off, until Oliver, with his city-soft edges and unyielding heart, chipped through. Their rhythm built like a gathering storm. Stolen afternoons in the hayloft, evenings by the fire pit Oliver built from river stones, sharing stories under stars that felt close enough to touch. Wyatt taught him to read the sky for weather, to gentle a colt's nerves with murmured nonsense. Oliver showed him apps for tracking herd health, playlists of indie folk that softened the night's edge. Love crept in, unannounced, in the way Wyatt lingered over coffee at the kitchen table, or how Oliver caught himself humming as he forked hay. But the valley watched, tongues wagging, and when Buck's wife, Lorraine, cornered Oliver at the post office. "You tunnin' my boy Wyatt queerer than he already was?" The idol cracked. Winter barreled in, snow blanketing the Double H like a shroud, isolating them in cocoons of warmth. They hosted a small solstice gathering. Marco and his girlfriend Lena, Dr. Patel with his wife Aisha, even Rita from the motel bearing pie. Laughter filled the hall Oliver had cleared for dancing, fairy lights strung from beams casting golden halos. Wyatt pulled him close during a slow song, foreheads touching, and whispered, "Marry me, Ollie, here under these stars." Oliver's heart seized, joy warring with fear. "Yes," he breathed, sealing it with a kiss that drew whoops from the crowd. But as the night waned, Tate pulled Wyatt aside, voice low and urgent. "Your dad's comin' home from the oil fields. He hears this. Hell burn it all down." The engagement sparked whispers into wildfires. Oliver dreamed of a spring wedding, simple under the aspens, vows exchanged with the bitterroot as witness. He sketched invitations on his tablet, elegant lines evoking wildflowers and wide skies. Wyatt dreamed bigger, eyes alight, Well, make it a statement. Show 'em love ain't got fences. But doubt not. Oliver's ex from Seattle, Jordan, texted out of nowhere. Heard you're playing house in cow country. Careful. Babe, rednecks eat dreamers for breakfast. The words festered, amplifying the graffiti's echo. Then came the betrayal, swift as a blizzard. Wyatt's father, Earl Langford, rolled in on a Freightliner semi, dust-caked and mean-eyed, fresh from Texas rigs. He cornered Wyatt in the yard, voice booming. Heard you shacking up with that pansy Hayes boy. After Reese, you dishonorin' his memory, son. Wyatt stood firm, chin lifted. Reese woulda loved him, Dad. And I do too. Earl's laugh was venom. Love? That's weakness. Sell your herd. Get out before you drag the name through mud. That night, Wyatt came to Oliver hollow-eyed, packing a duffel. Need space, Ollie, to fix this. The door shut soft, but the silence roared. Oliver collapsed against it, sobs racking him, the stable suddenly vast and empty. Days blurred into a gray haze. Willow sensed it, nuzzling closer during rides that turned aimless, circling the property like a wound. Oliver threw himself into work, boarding horses for neighbors, turning a profit that silenced some doubters. Marco became confidant, beers by the fire turning to rants. Wyatt's scared, man. Earl's poison runs deep. But the crisis deepened when Earl spread lies at the diner. Oliver was poisoning the land, turning the Double H into a fairy farm for city pervs. Clients canceled, fences cut under cover of night. Oliver confronted Earl at the feed store, voice steady despite the quake. This is my home now. Leave us be. Earl sneered. Home? You're a tourist, boy. And tourists get run out. Healing began in fragments. A letter from Harlan's old flame, unearthed in the attic, yellowed pages confessing a lifetime of hidden love. We built nothing, darling, but regretted everything. Oliver framed it by the mantle, a talisman. He reached out to Wyatt via text, no reply, then showed up at the Langford spread, snow crunching under tires. Wyatt met him at the porch, gaunt and guarded. I can't, Ollie. Dad's right. I'm poisoning you too. The rejection sliced, but Oliver saw the lie in Wyatt's eyes, the love buried under fear. Then fight for us, he said, turning away, leaving the seed planted. Spring thawed the ground, but not Oliver's heart. He planned the wedding alone, invitations sent to Mia and a handful of locals who'd stood firm. The stable bloomed. Wildflowers seeded along paths, an arch of aspen branches for the aisle. Media caught wind, a Seattle blogger, then national outlets sniffing queer romance in red country. Gay cowboy wedding shakes Montana Valley, headlines blared, turning mockery to spectacle. Protests brewed. Earl rallying the old guard with signs at the gate. But supporters swelled too. Aisha Patel baking cakes, Lena designing banners, even Rita DJing with a playlist of queer anthems. The night before, Wyatt appeared, duffel discarded, eyes raw. I told Dad to go to hell. Drove him to the airport myself. Oliver pulled him in, kisses fierce with forgiveness. You're late, he teased, voice breaking. But you're mine. Dawn broke clear, guests arriving in pickups and sedans, the valley holding its breath. Vows exchanged under the arch, rings simple silver etched with horseshoes, sealing promises amid cheers and a few sullen glares. As they kissed, cameras flashed from distant hills, the moment going viral. Two men in boots and bow ties, hands clasped, stable rising behind like a testament. The headlines exploded. From laughter to legacy. Gay's Montana wedding wins hearts. Buck toasted at the reception, gruff admission. You proved us wrong, Hayes. Earl watched from afar, then slipped away, a ghost fading. Oliver and Wyatt danced slow, foreheads touching, the bitter root whispering approval. In that circle of light, amid hay bales and hope, they built not just a life, but a bridge over divides of dirt and doubt, proving love, in all its stubborn glory, could tame even the wildest land. The reception stretched into twilight, lanterns swaying like fireflies drunk on joy, the air thick with barbecue smoke and the low hum of guitars plucked by Marco's cousin, a lanky kid named Theo Vasquez whose fingers danced over strings like they were born to it. Oliver leaned into Wyatt, their hips aligned in the easy sway of the two-step Wyatt had taught him months back, his hand firm at the small of Oliver's back, guiding without demanding. Laughter bubbled from tables where locals mixed uneasily with Seattle's imports, Mia in her sundress clashing gloriously with Lena's cowboy boots, Dr. Patel debating veterinary ethics with a tipsy Rita who swore by moonshine cures. But beneath the revelry, Oliver felt the undercurrent, the eyes that lingered too long on their joined hands, the whispers that slithered like smoke from Earl's shadow at the edges. Wyatt sensed it too, his breath warm against Oliver's ear. Ignoring, darling. Today's ours. But as the song faded, Earl stepped forward, uninvited, his frame hulking in the firelight, face carved from granite and grudge. The music stuttered, Theos chords faltering, and silence pooled like spilled ink. "Proud of you, son?" Earl said, voice oily with false warmth, extending a hand that Wyatt ignored. "But this circus? It's a slap to your mother's memory." She raised a man, "Not this." The word hung, unspoken but sharp, and Oliver's grip tightened on Wyatt's waist, a silent anchor. Wyatt straightened, blue eyes steel. "Mom's memory ain't yours to wield, Dad. She loved hard, no fences. That's what I'm doin'." Earl's laugh barked low. "Love, call it what it is, weakness. You'll wake up one day, stable in ruins, wonderin' why you threw away a legacy for a city whim." The crowd shifted, uncomfortable, but Oliver stepped up, voice calm as a still pond. "Legacy ain't blood or land, Mr. Langford. It's what you build with it." The double H stands because folks like Wyatt believed in second chances. Earl's gaze raked him, dismissive. "Second chances for fools, maybe. But you're leavin' scars on this valley, boy. Folks talk. Your kind always does. Flits in, stirs mud, flits out." Mia bristled from her table, but Oliver held up a hand, meeting Earl's eyes with the same quiet fire that had silenced boardrooms. "My kind's here to stay. Married now. Rooted." Earl snorted, turning on his heel, but not before muttering to Tate, who hovered like a reluctant shadow, "Keep an eye. He's trouble." The incident cast a pall, but Wyatt pulled Oliver aside to the stable's quiet wing, where Willow dozed in her stall, ears flicking at their approach. "He's wrong," Wyatt murmured, backing Oliver against the wall, lips brushing collarbone. "You're my strength." Their lovemaking was urgent there. In the hay-scented dark, clothes shed in whispers, bodies reconnecting with the desperation of survivors. Oliver's fingers dug into Wyatt's shoulders, mapping the tension knotted there, while Wyatt's mouth traced paths of reassurance down his chest. Each kiss a vow renewed. They moved slow at first, savoring the reclaiming, then faster, gasps echoing off beams, climax crashing like thunder over the peaks. Afterward, curled on a blanket, Wyatt confessed the fracture. "Dad's been calling since. Threats to cut me off the will sell his spread to developers. Says hell bury us in legal hell." Oliver traced Wyatt's jaw, thumb lingering on the pulse that matched his own. "We fight smart. Lawyers, allies. This valley owes us now." The headlines brought tourists. Bookings tripled. Indeed, the wedding had ignited a spark. Inquiries flooded from coastal couples seeking rustic queer escapes. Bloggers snapping pics of the Aspen Arch now festooned with rainbow ribbons. Elena Vasquez crowed over coffee the next morning, spreadsheets open on the kitchen table. Weddings, retreats, even a film scout sniffing around for a Hallmark knockoff. You boys are gold. But gold drew thieves, and Earl's shadow lengthened. Fences sagged again, mysteriously, and a truckload of premium hay vanished overnight, Buck's alibi thin as his excuses. Wyatt threw himself into the work, shoeing horses with a ferocity that bordered on fury, his hammer strikes ringing like declarations. Oliver watched from the porch, coffee steaming in his mug, heart aching at the strain etching Wyatt's features. Their mornings shifted, Wyatt rising before dawn for chores, Oliver sketching logos for the ranch's new brand, Double H Haven. Where hearts run free, the tagline a quiet rebellion. Evenings brought tentative peace. Dinners of venison stew simmered slow. Stories swapped over candlelight. Wyatt opened up about Reese, the man who'd taught him to love without apology, only to be stolen by leukemia's cruel math. He made me promise to keep lovin', no matter the cost, Wyatt said one night, voice thick. Oliver squeezed his hand. Then we're keepin' that promise. Together. But the crisis crested midsummer, heat waves shimmering the valley like a mirage. A letter arrived, crisp envelope bearing Earl's attorney's seal. A claim on the Langford spread, alleging Wyatt's lifestyle choices, voided inheritance clauses buried in dust. Wyatt crumpled it, face ashen, and stormed to his father's door, Oliver trailing in the pickup. The confrontation erupted in the barnyard, voices rising over the lowing cattle. You bastard, Wyatt roared. Usin' Ma's death to chain me? Earl leaned on his cane, smug. Protectin' the family, son. Can't have queers ruinin' generations of sweat. Oliver intervened, voice cutting through. Families evolve, Earl. Yours could too if you'd let it. Earl whirled, spittle flying. You're the rot, Hayes. Came here to seduce my boy? Turn honest land queer. The words ignited, and Wyatt lunged, fists clenched. But Oliver pulled him back, their eyes locking in a moment of raw choice. Don't give him this, Oliver pleaded. They drove home in silence, Wyatt's knuckles white on the wheel, Oliver's hand a steady weight on his thigh. That night, the betrayal deepened. Tate confessed over beers at the diner, guilt twisting his mustache. Earl's paying me to spy, report on your activities, said it was for Wyatt's own good. The revelation shattered Wyatt, brotherly bond fracturing like dry timber. He vanished into the hills for days, camping with his old herd, radio silent. Oliver paced the stable, Willow his sole companion, her steady presence a balm. He poured out fears to her soft ear. What if love ain't enough against this hate? Healing threaded in slow. Wyatt returned sunburned and somber, collapsing into Oliver's arms with apologies whispered against skin. I thought runnin' would fix me. But you're my fix, Ollie. They rebuilt trust brick by brick. Couples counseling with Aisha Patel, who specialized in rural hearts, sessions in her sunlit office overlooking the river. Wyatt joined a support group in Missoula, virtual meets for queer ranchers, voices from Wyoming to Idaho sharing scars. Oliver reached out to Jordan, not for reconciliation, but closure. A call where he owned his growth, the city boy's edges softened by soil. You were right about dreamers, he told his ex, but I'm dreamin' bigger now. The stable thrived amid the turmoil, a beacon drawing souls adrift. A young couple from Chicago booked a retreat, their story mirroring Oliver's. Escape from corporate cages, seeking roots in queerness. Wyatt led trail rides, his patience a gift, while Oliver hosted workshops on sustainable branding, laptops open under the stars. Media circled closer. A podcast from Portland, Out in the Outback, featuring their tale, downloads spiking. But Earl's machinations peaked with a petition at Town Hall. Signatures for a family values ordinance targeting immoral businesses. The hearing loomed like a storm front, valley divided. Buck signing reluctantly, then crossing out his name after Lorraine's quiet talk. Rita rallying countersigns with pie as bait. On the eve of the hearing, Wyatt and Oliver stood on the porch, arms entwined, watching lightning fork the horizon. Whatever comes, Wyatt said. We face it hitched. Oliver nodded, kissing the scar on Wyatt's knuckle. Hitched and unbroken. The storm broke gentle, rain nourishing the earth, mirroring the catharsis to come. Town Hall smelled of polished pine and stale coffee. The air electric with anticipation as Oliver and Wyatt slipped through the doors, hands clasped defiantly under the fluorescent glare. The room buzzed, folding chairs scraping like accusations. Faces familiar from diner counters and feed store aisles turned solemn masks. Mayor Harlan, no kin, but carrying the name like a crown, banged his gavel, voice booming over the murmur. Order. We're here to discuss Ordinance 47, protectin' our community standards. Earl Langford sat front row, arms crossed, his glare a laser on Wyatt, who met it unflinching, chin lifted beside Oliver. The petition lay on the podium, signatures inked like wounds. Over 100, but whispers of forgeries swirled, Tate's confession rippling outward. Elena Vasquez spoke first for the opposition, her heels clicking sharp as she laid out facts. Economic boon from the Double H, jobs for locals, tourism dollars flowing like the Bitterroot in spring. This ain't about values, she said, eyes sweeping the room. It's about fear. Fear of change, of love that don't look like yours. Applause sputtered, then swelled from the back, where Mia and Lena flanked Rita. Signs propped discreetly. Love rides free. Proponents rose next. A rancher named Clyde from the East Valley, Bible in hand, decrying moral decay, important city vices. Then Earl, lumbering to the mic, voice gravel over glass. My boy Wyatt, fine man, till that Hayes fellow wormed in. Now he's lost, family splintered. This ordinance saves our kids from that poison. Wyatt shot up, hand raised, and the mayor nodded him forward. The room hushed, breaths held. Wyatt gripped the podium, knuckles blanching, his words steady as a farrier's strike. Dad, you raised me to stand tall, but you're hidin' behind paper to hide your hate. Ollie ain't poison, he's life. Gave me back my heart after Reese. Showed me love ain't a sin to bury. Murmurs rippled, some nods, some scowls. Oliver watched, pride swelling fierce. His own speech prepared but unneeded. Wyatt's truth cut deeper than any script. As Wyatt sat, Oliver leaned in, whispering, "Proud of you, cowboy." The vote teetered, hands raised in a tense tally. The ordinance falling short by 3 Ritas, Bucks, and a surprise from old Mrs. Finley, who'd lost her son to AIDS decades back. Outside, rain slicked the steps, confetti of relief bursting from allies. Hugs enveloped them. Marcos' backslap, Aisha's warm embrace. But Earl waited by his truck, face thunderous. This ain't over, son. You chose wrong. Wyatt turned, voice low. No, Dad. I chose right. You want to visit? Doors open. But on our terms. Earl drove off, taillights fading into mist. The rift a chasm but no longer a chain. That night, the Double H hosted Victory Bonfire. Flames leaping high, stories circling like sparks. Theo strummed anthems, Mia leading toasts. To Oliver's guts, Wyatt's heart. In the fire's glow, Oliver pulled Wyatt close. Their dance a private waltz amid the crowd, bodies sinking to an unheard rhythm. Summer deepened, the valley greening under relentless sun, and their marriage settled into grooves worn smooth by routine. Mornings dawned with coffee on the porch, Wyatt's head on Oliver's lap as they planned the day. Trail maintenance, client calls, dreams whispered over mugs. Afternoons blurred in labor, Oliver mucking stalls. His city hands calloused now, pride in each forkful. Wyatt designing a new arena, sketches collaborative. Oliver's eye for aesthetics sharpening lines. Evenings belonged to them. Baths drawn in the clawfoot tubs salvaged from the attic, steam curling as they washed away dust. Fingers tracing suds over skin, kisses lazy and deep. Love manifested in small sacraments. Wyatt leaving wildflowers on Oliver's drafting table. Oliver coding a playlist of Wyatt's rodeo anthems for long drives. Yet conflict simmered beneath. Media frenzy peaked with a feature in Out magazine. Montana's Maverick Misters. Photos of them astride willow, arms looped, smiles genuine against aspen backdrops. Adoration poured in letters from teens in flyover towns, donations for expansion. But so did vitriol. Hate mail scrawled in block letters. Go back to your sodomy cities. Threats veiled as concerns. Wyatt hardened, screening calls, but Oliver saw the toll in shadowed eyes, the way heads startle at night. It's us against the noise, Oliver soothed, pulling him into bed, bodies entwining as anchors. Their intimacy evolved, exploratory in the quiet hours. Wyatt discovering Oliver's sensitivity to whispered endearments. Oliver learning the map of Wyatt's freckles like constellations. Betrayal struck from an unexpected quarter. Jordan, Oliver's ex, arrived unannounced, Rental car crunching gravel one crisp September morn. Tall and polished, Seattle sleek in chinos and loafers. He hugged Oliver stiffly, eyes darting to Wyatt with veiled appraisal. Saw the article. Had to see this fairy tale for myself. Wyatt bristled, offering curt handshake, but Jordan lingered, regaling over breakfast with tales of city glamour, subtle digs at rural drudgery. Missed the clubs, Ollie? That loft view? Oliver laughed it off, but seeds of doubt sprouted. Was this life enough, or just a romantic detour? That night, Jordan cornered him in the kitchen, voice low. He's hot, sure, but can he keep up with you? You're meant for spotlights, not stables. The words festered, amplifying insecurities Oliver thought buried. He snapped at Wyatt over trivialities. A forgotten chore, a late return, tensions coiling like barbed wire. Wyatt confronted him by the fire pit, flames mirroring hurt. This about him? Or us? Oliver confessed, tears hot. He made me question. If I'm holding you back from something bigger. Wyatt knelt, hands cupping face. You're my bigger, Ollie. Don't let ghosts rewrite us. Reconciliation burned fervent. They made love on the rug, urgent and affirming, Wyatt entering slow, eyes locked, each thrust a reclamation. Mine? Wyatt growled, and Oliver arched, gasping, yours? The union dissolving doubts in waves of release, healing wove through autumn's gold, leaves carpeting paths like confetti from heaven's hand. They volunteered at the local Pride event in Hamilton, a modest affair with flags waving tentative against the wind. Wyatt emceeing awkwardly charming, Oliver designing banners that popped vivid. Teens approached shy, stories tumbling. Hidden crushes, family fractures. Wyatt mentored a kid named Riley, 16 and stocky, who'd run from a Bible-thumping home. Oliver taught digital art sessions, laptops bridging gaps. The stable became sanctuary, boarding therapy horses for at-risk youth. Dr. Patel partnering on programs. You're changing lives. Aisha told them over tea, her smile maternal. Not just yours. Winter whispered in early, first snow dusting peaks, and with it, a crisis of growth. Bookings overwhelmed capacity, staff needed, funds stretched. Wyatt fretted over loans, Oliver's optimism clashing with practicality. We bootstrap, Oliver urged. Like Harlan, but a developer's offer arrived. Fat check for the back 40, tempting as sin. Debate raged nights, voices rising then softening into embraces. It's our legacy, Wyatt said finally, tearing the check. Not for sale. The choice cemented them, partnership deepening in shared vision. As holidays neared, they hosted a harvest feast, tables groaning under turkey and pies, guests spanning divides. Tate arrived sheepish, apology baked into his pie. Earl absent, but a card slipped under door terse, but signed Dad. Progress, fragile as frost. Lying abed post-feast, bellies full, Wyatt traced Oliver's hip. 1 year in. Feels like forever. Oliver smiled into darkness. The best kind. Christmas lights twinkled from the stable's eaves like stars tugged earthward, casting a festive haze over the double H as Oliver strung garland with Theo's help. The boys' laughter cutting through the chill like a warm blade. Wyatt watched from the porch, thermos of mulled wine in hand, his smile soft at the domesticity that had become their norm. Oliver, sleeves rolled, cheeks flushed from cold and effort, transforming the ranch into a postcard of queer Yuletide cheer. Inside, the hall brimmed with scents of cinnamon and pine. A tree scavenged from the woods lot dressed in ornaments handmade by retreat guests. Glittered horseshoes, painted rainbows, a lopsided star from Riley's first art class. You're making magic, Wyatt said, pulling Oliver close amid the tinsel chaos, kiss tasting of clove and promise. But magic had its underbelly. The season amplified isolation for those on the fringes, and calls came. A young man from Bozeman, voice cracking over the line, seeking refuge from family disownment. Riley, bunking in their guest room, flinching at every slammed door. Wyatt and Oliver opened wider, turning the loft into a crash pad, stocking pantry with non-perishables. Yet strain showed. Wyatt's temper frayed over a busted heater, Oliver's sketches piling unfinished as admin drowned him. One eve, post a grueling trail clear, they argued in the kitchen, Wyatt accusing Oliver of overcommitting, Oliver retorting Wyatt's stubborn independence bordered on sabotage. Plates clattered, words sharp. "You act like I'm the outsider still," Oliver shouted. Wyatt recoiled. "And you act like money fixes heartbreak." Silence fell heavy, broken only by the clock's tick. Oliver reached first, hand tentative on Wyatt's arm. "I'm sorry. This place is changing me. Us. And it scares me sometimes." Wyatt deflated, pulling him into a hug that crushed air from lungs. "Me too. But we're stronger tangled." They migrated to the rug, undressing slow, rediscovering in the firelight. Oliver's lips on Wyatt's throat, eliciting shivers. Wyatt's fingers coaxing gasps, patient exploration yielding to rhythm. Union came tender, bodies rocking in sync. Climax a shared sigh that mended more than words. New Year dawned crisp. Resolutions scrawled on paper slipped into the fire. Wyatt's to delegate, Oliver's to unplug. The stable buzzed with winter retreats, yoga under heated tents, stargazing for couples navigating closets. A documentary crew from LA arrived, mics discreet, capturing unscripted moments. Wyatt shoeing a mare, sweat beading, Oliver leading a workshop on queer storytelling through design. Interviews flowed honest. Oliver's journey from urban anonymity to rural revelation. Wyatt's reckoning with legacy's weight. "Love here feels louder," Wyatt said on camera. Eyes on Oliver across the yard. No hiding in crowds. Spring unfurled tentative, snowmelt swelling creeks, and with it, a fresh conflict. Earl's health faltered, a stroke felling him mid-rant at the diner, landing in Hamilton General. Wyatt visited alone first, hospital sterile swallowing him, corridors echoing regrets. Earl lay frail, monitors beeping accusations, his gruff facade cracked. "Didn't raise you to watch me die alone," he wheezed. Wyatt sat, hand hovering before clasping dry palm. "Ain't alone, Dad. Just different path." Talk turned halting. Stories of Wyatt's mom, her quiet acceptance of Reese's ghost. Earl's own buried pains, a wartime buddy lost to more than bullets. No apologies, but a thaw, Wyatt emerging drained but lighter, inviting Oliver next. The bedside vigil shifted dynamics. Earl eyed Oliver wary, but accepted the thermos of broth, muttering, "Heard the docs bill you for my care." Oliver shook head. "Wyatt's family. Means you're mine too, like it or not." A chuckle rasped from Earl, first crack in ice. Stubborn like Harlan. Over weeks, visits wove tentative threads. Card games in the sunroom, Earl critiquing Wyatt's farrier tales with grudging pride. Betrayal lingered in subtext, Earl's old prejudices surfacing in sly jabs. But Oliver countered with patience, sharing photos of the stable's growth, headlines framed on the wall. "See? Not ruinin', rebuildin'." Healing accelerated with Earl's discharge to the Langford spread, Wyatt overseeing rehab with quiet command. Oliver tagged along, cooking meals that bridged gulfs. Pot roast echoing childhoods, salads nodding to his city roots. One afternoon, Earl cornered him by the corral. "Thought you'd run by now." "Most do." Oliver met gaze steady. "Love ain't a sprint, Mr. Langford. It's the long ride." Earl nodded slow, cane tapping earth. "Call me Earl. And sorry for the poison." The words hung, imperfect, but potent, unlocking floods. Tate joining family dinners, Lorraine's pies arriving weekly, the Langfords folding into the double H orbit. Summer scorched, haying season demanding all, and their marriage tested anew by expansion pains. Investor from Denver sniffed, slick suit clashing with dust, offering partnership that smelled of control. Wyatt bristled at board seats demanded, Oliver tempted by scalability. Nights dissolved into debates, voices heated over wine. "It's our baby," Wyatt insisted. "Not a startup." Oliver relented, but resentment simmered, erupting when the investor pulled out, citing instability. "You scared him off," Oliver accused, slamming door. Wyatt followed, apology in eyes. Scared? In protectin' us from sellin' our soul. The rift widened, days passing in polite distance, chores a buffer. Oliver buried in designs for a pride pavilion, Wyatt in endless rides. Crisis peaked at a valley fair, booths vibrant under strung lights, their stable entry willow adorned in ribbons winning blue. Amid cheers, Jordan texted, "Congrats on the ribbon. Still playing farm." The barb pierced, Oliver downing beers till Wyatt found him by the Ferris wheel, face flushed. "Talk to me," Wyatt urged, hand on neck, confessions spilled, doubts of worth, fear of dragging Wyatt down. Wyatt kissed him fierce, public and unapologetic, drawing gasps then applause. "You lift me, Ollie. Every damn day." Reconciliation bloomed in the truck ride home, hands wandering over console, urgency building till they veered to a pullout, stars witnessing frenzy. Seats reclined, bodies urgent, Oliver's mouth on Wyatt eliciting moans that fogged windows. Release came shuddering, doubts exorcised in sweat-slicked afterglow. "We're solid," Wyatt panted, foreheads pressed. "No investor changes that." Autumn harvested bounty. Pavilion groundbreaking, funded by crowdfunding sparked by the dock. Earl's first visit tentative, hammer in hand for the ribbon cut, his toast gruff. "To buildin' somethin' lasts." Media hummed NPR spot on rural queer resilience, but they tuned out, focusing inward. Holidays circled, tree trimming a ritual now, Earl arriving with a carved reindeer, awkward but earnest. As snow fell soft, Oliver and Wyatt lay tangled, breaths sinking. "Hey, race home," Oliver murmured. Wyatt hummed agreement, hands splayed over heart. "And you." The pavilion rose like a phoenix from the meadow, timber framing etched with guest carvings, hearts intertwined, horses mid-gallop, its roof curving graceful against the Bitterroot skyline. Dedication Day dawned luminous, September sun gilding the wildflowers that carpeted the approach. Guests streaming in pickups adorned with bumper stickers proclaiming solidarity. Oliver stood at the entrance, clipboard in hand, directing with the poise of a man who'd tamed chaos into community. Parking for the press van from Billings, seating for Earl's wheelchair, a stage for Theos' acoustic set. Wyatt flanked him, arms slung casual over shoulder, their matching flannel shirts, Oliver's design. Subtle rainbows woven in threads, a uniform of quiet defiance. Speeches flowed heartfelt. Mayor Harlan praising economic ripple, Aisha Patel lauding mental health ties. Riley, now 18, confidence blooming, sharing how the stable's horses had taught me to stand without hidin'. Wyatt spoke next, voice carrying like wind over plains. "This place started as a laughin'stock. Now it's a haven, 'cause Ollie saw what could be, not what was." Eyes met across the crowd, Oliver's throat tightening at the love laid bare. Then Earl, rising unassisted, cane steady. "I was wrong. Thought tradition meant freezin' time. But seein' my son happy, that's the real legacy." Applause thundered, tears streaking dust-weathered cheeks. The ribbon snipped amid cheers that echoed to the peaks. Post-ceremony, the pavilion pulsed alive. Food trucks dispensing bison burgers and lavender lemonade. Yoga flows on the lawn. A queer country band from Missoula twanging anthems that had boots stomping. Oliver and Wyatt circulated, hands brushing in passing, stolen kisses amid milling crowds. Media swarmed gentle, a podcaster capturing Earl's toast for posterity, a photographer framing Wyatt lifting Riley for a piggyback victory lap. But amid joy, a shadow flickered. Tate, pulling Wyatt aside by the corral, face ashen. "Dad's doctor called. Tests show. Cancer. Prostate. Aggressive." The world tilted, Wyatt's laugh dying mid-note as he processed, arm seeking Oliver's waist for ballast. They drove to Hamilton in stunned silence, Earl's room reeking of antiseptic and fear. He lay propped, bravado thinned. "Knew it comin'. Won't go gentle." Wyatt gripped rail, knuckles white. "You will. Fight like you taught me." Earl-eyed Oliver gnawed faint. "Keep him strong, Hayes. He's softer than he lets on." The diagnosis anchored them in new rhythms. Chemo runs slotted around chores, meals prepped in bulk, Earl bunking at the double H for recovery proximity. Oliver adapted seamless, infusing care with creativity. Smoothies spiked with ginger for nausea, playlists of old Western tunes to mask beeps. Wyatt faltered private, nights pacing porch, Oliver's arms drawing him back to bed, bodies seeking solace in familiar heat. Intimacy shifted tender amid trial, touches lingering, reassurances whispered. One storm-lashed eve, rain lashing windows, Wyatt entered Oliver slow, eyes locked in vulnerability, each movement an affirmation of presence. "Need you?" Wyatt breathed, and Oliver wrapped legs tight, urging deeper. Their release a dam-breaking tears mingling with sweat, catharsis raw. "We got this," Oliver vowed after, fingers combing damp hair. Wyatt nodded into neck. Together. Fall deepened, leaves aflame, and the stable schedule swelled with fall festivals. Hayrides laced with storytelling, harvest moons for couples therapy under domes. But Earl's decline cast pall, energy waning, moods swinging from gruff jokes to shadowed silences. Conflict brewed when Earl, lucid post-treatment, demanded Wyatt sell the Langford spread to fund my care. Guilting with legacies. Wyatt refused, voice cracking. "Ain't buying your peace with my future." Oliver mediated, kitchen summit tense. "Money ain't love, Earl. Wyatt's given you that free." Earl relented grudging, but resentment simmered. Erupting in a midnight call, Wyatt roused to Earl's fall. Hip shattered, surgery looming. Hospital vigils blurred days. Wyatt sleeping in vinyl chairs. Oliver ferrying coffee and clean shirts. Betrayal surfaced subtle. Earl's lawyer mailing clauses revisions, attempting to reinstate old disinheritance. Tate intercepted, confessing shamefaced. "He's scared, brother." Lashing out. Wyatt confronted bedside, fury leashed. "Use words, not tricks, Dad. We're family, not foes." Earl wept then. First Oliver had seen, confession tumbling. Regrets over Reese's unspoken welcome. His own closet rusted shut by war and wife. Thought Haydn made me strong. Wyatt forgave halting, handclasp sealing. Strength's letting go. Healing unfurled in fragments. Earl joining art therapy at the pavilion. Gnarled hands shaping clay horses. Pride flickering as Riley praised. Group rides for survivors, Wyatt leading gentle. Dr. Patel monitoring. Oliver documented quiet, a blog series. Ranch roots and resilience. Posts weaving Earl's arc with theirs. Readership swelling from coasts. Winter crept, first flurries dusting the pavilion roof, and Earl's prognosis steadied remission whispers. Enough for a hushed Thanksgiving feast. Table groaned under turkey carved by Earl himself. Toasts circling gratitude. Tate's for mending, Lorraine's for hope, Wyatt's for the men who saved me. Post-feast, as snow fell fat flakes, Oliver and Wyatt escaped to the loft. Blankets piled high, bodies warming mutual. Lovemaking leisurely, exploratory, Oliver's tongue tracing Wyatt's scars, eliciting shudders. Wyatt's hands coaxing Oliver open, patience yielding gasps. Climax built wave-like, crashing soft, afterglow cocooned in murmurs. "He's fightin' cause of us," Wyatt said, voice hushed. Oliver kissed brow. "And we're stronger for it." Spring signaled renewal, buds piercing frost. Earl's cane traded for a walker, steps sure on meadow paths. The stable hosted a cancer survivor retreat, tents dotted with lanterns, stories shared fireside. Media caught the Evolution CNN snippet on Montana's healing heartland, but they focused local, expanding youth programs, Riley interning as trail guide. Yet crisis loomed in growth's shadow. Overbooking led to a guest's injury, minor sprain on uneven trail, lawsuit threat from litigious kin. Wyatt panicked, insurance lapses glaring. "My fault," he self-flagellated. Oliver steadied. Lawyer calls dispatched. Settlement amicable after transparency. The scare prompted audit, systems overhauled. Elena managing books, Marco safety lead. Amid, Jordan's shadow resurfaced. An email. "In town for a shoot. Dinner." Oliver deleted, but temptation nagged, old patterns whispering escape. Wyatt sensed, confronting gentle over breakfast. Talk. Confession flowed. lingering what-ifs. Wyatt nodded, pain-veiled. I ain't perfect, but am yours. Affirmation sealed in barn alcove, quick and fierce. Wyatt pressing Oliver to wall, thrusts claiming, moans muffled in shoulder. No doubts, Wyatt growled, and Oliver yielded. Release purging phantoms. Summer solstice brought pavilion anniversary, bonfire grand, Earl dancing awkward with Lorraine, laughter genuine. As flames died, Wyatt pulled Oliver to the arch site, now perennial blooms. One vow more. Ring slipped on anniversary band, simple, and kiss under moon, valley witness. Forever, they breathed unison. The solstice fire's embers glowed like banked promises as Oliver and Wyatt lingered in the meadow. The pavilion's silhouette a guardian against the night's deepening chill, wildflowers nodding in the breeze as if approving their whispered renewal. Guests had trickled homeward, taillights fading down gravel lanes, leaving echoes of songs and stories to settle like dew. Earl wheeled himself to the fire's edge earlier, thermos in lap, his toast slurred soft. To nights like this warm enough to thaw old fools. Wyatt had knelt then, hand on knee, eyes wet. Love you, Dad. The words, simple, had cracked something final in Earl. A sob escaped before he waved them off, retreating to the guest wing with Tate's arms steadying. Now alone, Wyatt traced the new band's inscription, Ride On, his thumb circling Oliver's finger in the moon's silver wash. Feels right? He murmured, pulling Oliver down to the blanket spread, bodies aligning natural as breath. The union unfolded unhurried, clothes shed layer by layer, skin bared to stars. Oliver's mouth exploring Wyatt's chest, tongue flicking peaks till gasps rent the quiet. Wyatt's hand sliding south, fingers deft, preparing with oil warmed in pocket, entry slow, eyes holding as he filled. Rhythm built tidal, hips rolling in harmony, Oliver's nails raking back, Wyatt's name a litany on lips, climax crested shared, shudders rippling. Afterglow a tangle of limbs and lazy kisses, the valley cradling their sighs. Autumn wove gold threads through the aspens. Harvest yielding bumper crops of apples from the orchard Oliver had coaxed back to life. Pies baked communal with Lena's recipes, scents wafting to draw neighbors unbidden. The stable hummed peak. Fall foliage tours booked solid, couples capturing engagements under crimson canopies. Revenue allowing hires. A chef named Diego Ruiz for pavilion events, his fusion tacos bridging coasts. But prosperity birthed envy. Anonymous letters arrived, postmarked local, decrying fancy queers talking over, laced with slurs that curdled milk. Wyatt burned them in the fire pit, but poison seeped, manifesting in slashed tires on the press van. A reporter's piece skewed sour. Idyllic facade or cultural conquest? Conflict crested at a chamber meeting. Town burghers gathered in the VFW hall. Air thick with pipe smoke and suspicion. Clyde Rose, petition renewed. Boycott the double H till they tone down the agenda. Wyatt countered fierce. Oliver beside. Voice amplified by slides of economic stats. Testimonials from locals employed. This ain't conquest, Oliver said, gaze sweeping doubters. It's community. Your son's learnin' farrier from Wyatt, your daughter's riding safe trails. Debate raged, voices overlapping till Mayor Harlan Gavel's dissent. Vote favored continuance, but margins narrow, Clyde's parting shot stinging. Watch your backs, lovers. The threat lingered, patrols added Marco moonlighting security, and intimacy armored against fear. Nights barricaded in bed, Wyatt taking Oliver from behind, hand over mouth to muffle cries, possession fierce as protection. Safe with me? Wyatt growled, thrusts grounding. Release a roar swallowed in pillow, but betrayal brewed closer. Diego, the chef, overheard gossiping at the bar, words twisted to media. Exploiting rural charm for queer capital. Wyatt fired him swift, heard acute trust fractured in hired hands. Oliver soothed, resume reviews resuming, but wariness took root, questions of who else harbored knives. Healing sprouted from soil enriched by trial. A town hall forum initiated by Rita, bridging the bitterroot. Circles facilitated by Aisha, voices airing grievances sans gloves. Wyatt facilitated one, Oliver note-taking, Earl's presence a quiet anchor, his interjection halting. Lost a friend once to hate like this. Won't lose family again. Clyde's softened fraction, sharing a closeted nephew. Common ground tilled tentative. Youth programs expanded, Riley leading peer circles, his story from runaway to ranch hand, inspiring parallels. Media pivoted positive. A Guardian piece, Montana's quiet queer revolution, framing their resilience as Americana reimagined. Winter gripped gentle that year, snow blanketing soft, holiday lights a constellation against dark. Earl's health held, chemo cycles routine, his contributions blooming. Woodworking shop in the pavilion barn, benches crafted for retreats, engraved, Langford legacy. Family dinners evolved tradition, Tate's jokes landing lighter, Lorraine's hugs warmer. One eve, post-carols around piano hauled from attic, Earl pulled Wyatt aside. Proud son. Of you both. Wyatt hugged fierce, tears salt on tongue. Spring thaws brought renewal, creeks singing, foals dropping in paddocks, Willow birthing a colt, spindly-legged and spirited, named Harlan in honor. Oliver captured dawn birth on video, shaky cam but heart full, editing a montage for family screening. Crisis averted when a storm flooded the arena, Wyatt rallying volunteers, even Clyde hauling sandbags, muddied camaraderie forging bonds. Post-flood, Pavilion hosted mud wrestle fundraiser, laughter cathartic, proceeds rebuilding stronger. Summer solstice circled, second anniversary under the arch, vows refreshed amid blooms. But doubt nipped, Jordan's shadow resurfaced, a gala invite forwarded, temptations of city acclaim. Oliver confided over porch rockers, Wyatt's hand steady. Go if you need, I'll hold the fort. Oliver declined, choosing instead a joint TEDx talk in Missoula. From stable to stage, loving out loud, their story dual-voiced, applause thunderous. Return brought reclamation. Loft love marathon, hours lost in discovery, toys ordered discreet. Wyatt bound playful, Oliver's control yielding whimpers, roles fluid as river. Fall harvest deepened intimacy, apple-picking dates turning sensual. Cider-sweet kisses in orchard rows, bodies pressed to trunks, Wyatt's hand in jeans, Oliver's gasps lost to wind. Betrayal resolved in Diego's apology letter. Job offer rescinded, but bridge mended via reference. Valley stabilized, chamber endorsement stamped, Clyde booking a family retreat tentative. As leaves turned, Earl's scans cleared full, remission solid, toast raised at pavilion dinner. To survivin', Oliver and Wyatt danced slow, world shrinking to twain. Endless, Wyatt whispered. Oliver smiled. Our story. The pavilion's harvest dinner hummed with the symphony of clinking glasses and murmured toasts. Candle flames dancing shadows across faces etched by shared seasons. The air rich with roasted quail and sage from Diego's redemption menu. His return as consultant, knives sharp but grudges blunted. Oliver leaned into Wyatt at the head table, thigh pressed warm under linen, their fingers interlaced beneath, a private tether amid public gaze. Earl held court nearby, color returned to cheeks, his laughter booming rare but real as he regaled Riley with tales of Mustang roundups. The boy's eyes wide with hero worship unmarred by blood. Mayor Harlan raised his glass last, voice resonant. To the Double H, not just a stable, but the beating heart of our valley, reminding us love's the truest inheritance. Applause swelled, fading to dessert plates of apple crumble, steam curling like prayers. Wyatt excused them soft, leading Oliver to the meadow beyond, where the bonfire crackled low, embers winking invitations. They settled on logs, blanket-draped shoulders, the night vast overhead, stars pricked infinite. Wyatt's arm circled waist, chin on shoulder. 3 years, he mused, breath fogging cool air. Feels like yesterday I knocked on your motel door. Oliver turned, lips brushing jaw. And tomorrow will still be argon over fence paint. Laughter mingled, low, easing into kiss slow burn, tongues familiar, hands roaming collars unbuttoned. Passion ignited natural, blanket spread fuller, bodies reclining as clothes yielded. Shirts tugged free, belts unbuckled with clicks swallowed by cricket's chorus. Moonlight silvered skin, Oliver's fair to Wyatt's tanned. Contrasts cherished in caresses mouth on nipple, eliciting hiss. Fingers tracing hip bones, dipping lower to stroke hardening length. Wyatt rolled atop, gaze intense. Want you, he growled, oil slicking path, entry measured, Oliver arching welcome, legs hooked heels. Rhythm steadied deep, thrusts sinking breaths. Oliver's hand fisting hair, Wyatt's name chanted ragged. Pace quickened, friction fire, climax crashing tandem. Wyatt's spill hot within, Oliver's arcing chest, shudders shared in collapse, afterglow whispers weaving vows anew. Dawn crept rosy, foals nickering distant, and they rose tangled, dressing languid amid dewy grass. Breakfast convened casual. Earl flipping pancakes, Tate wrangling syrup spills, Mia visiting with Seattle gossip, her tales of tech boom contrasting valley peace. Plans unfolded over coffee expansion to eco-cabins. Youth scholarship fund seeded by dock royalties. Yet introspection shadowed. Oliver confiding dreams of legacy beyond land. Perhaps a book chronicling their arc. Wyatt nodded, eyes soft. Write it. They'll ride herd. Earl's interjection gruff. Add a chapter on stubborn dads learnin' late. Autumn waned gold to gray. First snows dusting peaks. Winter retreats filling ledgers. Conflict whispered final. A developer circling Earl's old spread. Offers tempting for Tate's sake. Family summit convened porchside. Breaths fogging. Earl deferred to sons. Your call. Wyatt chose preserve. Partnering local co-op for sustainable graze. Betrayal of greed averted in unity. Healing culminated Earl's memoir contribution to Oliver's draft. Pages penned shaky. Hate was my cage. Love set me free through them. Spring birthed verdant. Colts gambling. Pavilion hosting inaugural Hearts Unbridled. Festival. Queer artists. Ranch demos. Crowds diverse from coasts to heartland. Headlines crowned. From mockery to milestone. The stable that stole America's heart. Oliver and Wyatt emceed. Hands clasped podium. Words weaving personal to universal. We laughed last. But more we loved through. Applause eternal. Confetti rainbow. Summer solstice forth. Arch aglow lanterns. Guests orbiting as they renewed under blooms eternal. Vows evolved. Through storms and sunsets. I choose you. Dance followed, valley encircling, Earl leading Lorraine, Riley with bow tentative. Fireworks burst overhead, stars rivaled, but none brighter than eyes locked. As years blurred to legend, Double H endured beacon marriages solemnized. Hearts mended, divides bridged. Oliver published Stable Hearts, bestseller bridging shelves. Wyatt touring signings, horseback photo ops. Earl aged graceful, grandkids. Adopted kin romping paddocks. Betrayals faded footnotes. Crises chapters closed. Healing the narrative thread. In quiet eves, porch rockers creaking, Wyatt murmured, worth every laugh. Oliver smiled, hand in hand. And every headline. The bitter root flowed on, witness to love's quiet thunder. Humanistic hymn that in vulnerability, connection conquers. In roots deep, wings soar free. Legacy not in land, but lives intertwined, proving even mocked beginnings birth endings profound.